usual. With Lamar Jackson, he's such a factor back there with the RPOs. It's going to make the linebackers a little bit anxious and usually open up some holes. So I still think this is a contender in the AFC. They've fallen off a little bit from, I think they reached a high of number 3, but I still think this is a team that's going to be there towards the end. And they're definitely a battle tested, John Harbaugh, tough team.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of the Bengals here, you actually did fall. You dropped them out of your top 10 down to number 11. I believe you had number 7 or 8 last week, if I'm not mistaken. So just
Yeah.
take that as you will. I mean, obviously the loss to the Jets suck, but are the Bengals still for real?
I still like this team. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule as far as if you think about the last couple of years. I think they won 2 and 5 games respectively. They're already at that 5-win mark now. I think they could possibly double down and maybe get to 10 wins, but it's going to be tough down the stretch. I believe in Joe Burrow. I like Joe Mixon. The defense has looked really good. Obviously, Jamar Chase has been outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Just give him Rookie of the Year now. It was a really tough call. I don't know how much of this game you saw, Buck, but the lowering the crown of the helmet on a crucial, I believe it was a 3rd and 11 play for
Yeah.
the Jets, and they weren't even close to converting it. I think it was actually the ball carrier who initiated the contact. Really tough call against the Bengals. Would they have come back and tied the game or won it? Who knows? But that was definitely a bit of a shaky defensive performance, giving up over 400 passing yards to Mike White. Maybe this guy's going to be a sensation. Who knows? He went undrafted out of, I believe, Central Michigan. So who really knows? But I think it was just more of a bit of a slight setback for the Bengals rather than they have to be searching for answers. I still think they're in the mix of some of the best teams in the AFC.
Right. And if you listen to the Man Hour last night, Tor Anderson said that Mike White was better than Zach Wilson, and the Jets will win more games with him. So take that as you will. So at number 10, you did have the Baltimore Ravens. Coming in at number 9, you do have the Las Vegas Raiders. Now we obviously know what happened with the rug staying in, like whatnot. You have these rankings out before that all happened. Would the Raiders still be in your top 10 with rug? Looking at the hindsight now.
Um, I think I'd probably have them around there. I mean, this is a really tough thing for a team to go through, and they've been through a lot as a team already with the Gruden situation. Now, I don't mean to phrase this in a way that what happened with Henry Ruggs Jr. is tough for the team. I mean, it's hard when a teammate of yours makes a poor decision like that and ends up costing someone their life. And as far as his football career is concerned, I don't even want to talk about that because that's very secondary in some of the issues that are happening. Can this team rally around the crazy things that have happened already this season? I'm not sure. That I really like what I've seen in the couple games they've played under Rich Bisaccia. I'm still like saying that guy's name. But this is going to be a real tough one. Ruggs, speaking of him strictly as a football player, was kind of, they like to use him on the outside as a burner. They wouldn't play him every snap, but they would use him in specialty situations, and he was really excelling in that role. And they're going to need to, I'd say, lean more on guys like Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro, Brian Edwards. So they're going to have more of a diversified attack. Look to see that two-headed monster of Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake utilized a bit more as well.
Yeah, and just a general rule of thumb here, it is week 8 going into week 9 of the NFL season. This is when the Raiders do collapse. So right on cue, they're probably going to collapse with some unfortunate events, unfortunately. So
No
coming
doubt.
in at number 8, you do have the Saints. Even without Jameson, you still have them, without James, you still have them at number 8.
Famous Jameis. Yeah, it was funny. I was watching that game, and I must have missed the part when he got kind of corkscrewed down and hurt his knee. And I'm like, who's playing quarterback? Is that Taysom Hill? I'm like, oh, he looks kind of skinnier. Trevor Simeon. I didn't even know this guy was still in the league.
Right.
Obviously, he was a late round pick. We kind of thought he was going to be the heir apparent to Peyton Manning. We thought he was going to be the next guy to take over that job after he retired. He had some nice moments for the Broncos, but it just never really ended up working out. I don't think the team around him was really quite good enough to support a young kind of developing passer. He also definitely made some mistakes along the way as well. But he played really well in that game, and he won a game when the opposing quarterback was Tom Brady, and he entered that game with 43 minutes to go, Buck. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like he came in mop up duty and got the win. So he definitely had to make some throws. Are they going to bring in a veteran? Um, I think they should. I heard something about Philip Rivers would listen if they talk. I have another one to throw out there. How about Josh McCown? I know
Hmm.
this guy's in his 40s, but he would be a really good kind of veteran leadership type of guy. He could make a few passes as well if you needed him to. But it seems like they're going to need to do something about as far as finding another body in their quarterback room. You know, Taysom Hill's going to be in the mix also,
Right.
but he's coming off a concussion, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, he's been out for
they're
3 or
going to
4 weeks with a concussion too, so it's a bad one.
yeah, the news about Michael Thomas isn't great either. They're gonna have to lean on guys like Alvin Kamara and that defense, which has been really solid. But I like what I've seen over the last couple of weeks. 5-2, they're in a pretty good position in the NFC.
Yeah, and just to add to your point a little bit here, I feel like if the Saints were going to bring in a veteran quarterback to like take that spot of Jameis, they would have maybe entertained some veteran quarterbacks out in the trade market per se. You know, maybe Chad Henne is still a backup at Kansas City, right? And there's some
Yep.
other things. Joe Flacco, I do know that just picked him up, but you offer them the right thing, a 5th round pick, right, to give them a little bit more incentive. I mean,
Yeah.
you never really know, but you just do still have the Saints coming in at number 8, and coming in at number 7, you have the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle for them against the Miami Dolphins, which has not been the case the last few times they played them. Obviously, they beat them 35-0 earlier this season, and then they blew them out in the season finale going back to last year. But they kind of had a tough time getting out of the gates in this game. To their credit, the Dolphins did play hard. Their defense was kind of swarming the line, but eventually Josh Allen and co. kind of broke out of that and they were able to pull away. So not a terribly impressive win, but you got to beat the teams in front of you. They improved to 5-2. They just got to keep piling up W's. They're in a stretch of their schedule when they're playing some teams that are struggling right now. They're up against Jacksonville next week, so they've just got to maintain their focus and focus on just playing good football, executing their game plan, and not getting caught up in the other nonsense. So I think they'll continue to inch their way up, but they can't have any stumbles against these weaker opponents.
Yeah, I mean, you are 100% correct there. You basically just got to beat the teams that are in front of you, and the Bills need to basically win out to, keep flexing on the NFL. Let's just be flat and honest. Speaking of injuries, King Henry is like, he went down for a foot injury. He had a surgery on Tuesday. You do have the Tennessee Titans coming at number 6 with a win over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Titans at 6. Explain to me why.
Yeah, I really like what I've seen from this team the last 3 weeks. Going back to that Monday night win over the Bills, they definitely weren't executing the way they want to. Mike Vrabel was kind of losing his mind, but they were able to turn things around in that game. They completely shut down the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago, and then last week against the Titans, excuse me, they are the Titans against the Colts. Even when they were down 14-0, when Tannehill threw that ball to AJ Brown, he turned the corner, was able to avoid the defender and went down the sidelines. I just had a feeling, Titans are going to find a way to win this game. Of course, Wentz coughs it up with that brutal interception towards the end of the game and, pretty much hands the game back to the Titans. I know they were able to tie the game, but he threw another interception in overtime, which just coughed it up. He's starting to look like the last year's Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz. He's starting to look a bit better, but so I like what I've seen from this team. They're finding different ways to win. Now, obviously, losing King Henry is a big blow, but I love them signing Adrian Peterson. I know he's 48 years old or whatever he is, but he's the exact same type of runner, powerful runner, but still he's got that top end speed. I don't know how much he's got left. You'd think maybe they'd go with someone a little bit younger, but I like the boldness of the move, and they're going to mix in some other backs as well. So I think this is a kind of a battle tested team with who takes on the personality of Mike Vrabel, their coach, and they're in the mix there in the AFC.
Yeah, you are absolutely 100% correct. I mean, they obviously are the best team in the AFC South. right now. But this is also the year of the 36-year-old running back as well. I mean, Murray's been signed. Now Adrian Peterson's been signed. Now the only person left to get signed is Frank Gore. So maybe he gets signed with the Kansas City Chiefs so he can play with his cousin or something like that, right? I don't know.
There you go.
But I'm totally kidding. But coming in at number 5, this is the only real eyebrow raising team that I have so far that has kind of like jumped out at me. You have the Dallas Cowboys coming in at number 5. You do realize that the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL, right?
I'm not quite there with you, Buck. I know you've been kind of hammering that drum, and I hear it. I'm kind of pounding along with you somewhere in the background. Remember those bands that had two drums, like
Yeah.
Slipknot and stuff like that? I'm
Right.
kind of somewhere off in the background, pounding away. I really like this team. I thought it was a gritty performance by Cooper Rush. Hey, it was backup week this
Right.
past weekend, Buck. We had Mike White, Cooper Rush doing his thing. We even had PJ Walker kind of getting the save for Carolina there. But I just think the thing that impresses me the most of this team about this team is their defense. Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons are two of the heavy hitters, definitely on this defense. Leighton Vander Esch is another guy that kind of comes to mind. They held this Vikings offense very much in check. And Cooper Rush kind of made the throws when he had to. Obviously, they're hoping they could get Dak Prescott back sooner rather than later. The other guy that's really stood out for me on this Cowboys team is Tony Pollard. He doesn't really seem to care how many carries he gets, how many catches he makes. He's a bit more effective in the running game, I'd say, than Ezekiel Elliott. He just kind of keeps playing, showing up, and being a really productive member of this team. He doesn't make the same amount of money as Elliott. He doesn't have the same high profile that he does, but he just keeps getting the job done for the boys.
Yeah, so we do have some Cowboys fans out here in the chat, and like Bill Yates says that the Dallas Cowboys can run with anybody in the NFL, and I do agree
Yeah.
with you, like on that. But they did lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week 1 of the NFL season. And that's who you have coming in at number 4, fresh off a loss versus the Saints.
Yeah, Saints really seem to have their number in the regular season. That's three straight losses to the Saints. The Bucks have suffered. Obviously, they got him in the NFC divisional game last year. I'm not overly concerned necessarily by this loss to the Saints. Um, they were right there with them. Brady obviously threw the interception. I think most people, when the Saints were forced to kick that field goal with about a minute and a half left, like, well, Tom Brady's just going to go and lead them to
Right.
the field goal or the touchdown, and the Bucks are going to win, right? But he obviously didn't see. I believe it was Williams who got him coming over the middle there, and I was really surprised. Buck, he was able to return it all the way for the touchdown. It's
Yeah.
about 40 yards or so down the sideline. He wasn't able to be pushed out of bounds or anything like that. So I still think the Bucks are one of the top teams in the NFC. They're going to be there. The defending champions. So I dropped them. I think 2 spots, from the previous ranking. So
Yeah, yep. You had him at number 2 last week, so you did drop them 2. On the bright side, though, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did lose to the Saints twice last year in the regular season. They came in flex on them in the playoffs, so maybe Tom Brady will be 0-4 in the regular season versus the Saints, but 2-0 versus them in the playoffs. Like, we never really know.
yeah,
But some big trades happened before the NFL trade deadline. One of the biggest ones was Von Miller to the LA Rams, and that's exactly who you have coming in at number 3 are the LA Rams.
Yeah, Rams have been kind of a fixture in my top 5 pretty much all season, and they come in at number 3 right now. I really like this trade for the Rams. They're really going for it, Buck. You see this in different sports, basketball and baseball sometimes. Teams just going all in, putting their chips to the table, and that's exactly what the Rams have done. If you look at their draft for 2022 draft, they have like a third round pick, and I think they have like a fifth round pick, and I think they have a seventh round pick, and like that's it. They've stockpiled their team with a lot of veteran players, and you got to think Von Miller's bound to see some one-on-ones with that defense, which also contains Aaron Donald and some other guys coming off the edge. So that's going to be a good situation for him. Obviously, he's probably on the back 9 of his career, but he's still able to get around blockers and use power moves and speed moves to get to the quarterback and get to the running back and force fumbles and things like that. So I think this is going to be a team or a move that really invigorates the team, really energizes the team, and they're already 7-1. They've got probably the most energetic coach in football, Sean McVay, with that spiky hair and that bright smile of his. So So I think I love this move all around. Sure, they're mortgaging their future a little bit, but they're so close. And when you're that close to a Lombardi, you got to try to reach out and try to grab it.
Yeah, I think I saw the greatest meme ever yesterday once Von Miller was traded, and you mentioned all the picks that the Rams have for the 2022 draft. They basically said, well, we drafted Jared Goff first draft like three years ago, and they're like, never again, give away all of our draft picks right now. And
Yeah.
so that's exactly what they are doing here. As Drew says, go
Yeah.
Rams in the chat. So Drew, you can go Rams all you want, but I think the Rams are still going to be a first round exit in the playoffs this year. Now, coming off their first loss of the
Okay.
season, you do have the Arizona Cardinals. These are Drew's Arizona Cardinals. We had arguably the best game on Thursday night football ever. But the Arizona
Yeah.
Cardinals did come off the loss versus the Green Bay Packers. That's who you do have at number one. So obviously, you had them flip flop here. Is there a
Yeah.
reason besides the loss that you put Cardinals at number two?
Well, we were talking about this game last week, and you were all over the Packers. I'll give you full credit for this, Buck. And you asked me who I thought was going to win. I said, well, I just think the Packers are a little bit too shorthanded. I'm going to go with the Cardinals, and that really wasn't a huge factor in this game. I thought Cardinals made some mistakes. Rondale Moore muffed a punt in the first half that led to a Packers touchdown. They were down. 10 points at that point, and they really had to kind of rally back in order to get back into this game, and they did a pretty good job of that. I have no idea what happened in that last play of the game. AJ Green was kind of held up in the end zone, and he just stopped moving. It's like he's like, "Oh, the ball's not coming to me. Oh shit, it is. Oh, he caught it. Game's over." So that was really weird. One of the most bizarre end of game interceptions I've ever seen. So they were that close to being 8-0 and a guaranteed number one spot in my rankings. Instead, it goes to the fifth different team that's held the top spot. I still think Cardinals are a good team. They may have to do some different things with their run game, mix it up a bit more as we move forward, but not a lot of concern about this team. I think they're like the Bengals, they're kind of ahead of schedule, and I'm excited what Kyler Murray can do the rest of the way.
Yeah, so a few things that you said here. I mean, so this has been a weird week 8. We've had a lot of injuries, and now we have COVID. Now, let's say when the Packers lose to the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday by 17 points, is going to be a
Wow.
30. It'll be a 35-23 point game there or so. Are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt that their starting quarterback wasn't there and still keep him up at the top 3 spots?
The Packers you're talking about?
Yes, the Packers.
Oh, of course, yeah. Chiefs are a little bit further down. I, for one, am quite excited to see what Jordan Love can do in a regular season NFL game. I'm not